big fan.
We'll have to talk about that. But
All right.
let's just get started. Hello
Yeah, man.
everyone. Welcome to the 26th episode of the PokéSells official podcast. I'm your host Rocco Mitchell, and today I am here with the amazing Joe Kales.
Kalis.
Okay.
Kalis.
Oh, Kalis. Sorry, I saw.
All good.
He is a show owner in Cookville, so near Nashville, about an hour away from Nashville. And yeah, I just wanted to hop in. I've heard obviously your name like spoken a lot through like people that have vended your shows and all that type of stuff. And us going into like Grails and Glory and do our own stuff. I just kind of wanted to like talk and how it like someone that's have experience running shows. So if you could just introduce yourself, Joe, that would be great.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate the opportunity. Joe Kalis. I am born and raised in Chicago, in the suburbs. So if you'll see behind me any Chicago sports stuff or White Sox, Chicago Bears, very excited. But moved to Tennessee in 2020 during COVID. And I guess as part of my introduction, but also a segue into why we're even talking, in 2020 when COVID was going on and there was really nothing to do in the world, I was packing to move here and found my old card collection. I collected sports cards as a kid, hadn't looked at them in like 20 years, but was just boxing things up and saw them and thought I was going to be a millionaire. Saw all the Shaq rookies I had, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And cards were just blowing up at that point. I don't know about the Pokemon world, what the time frame is there, but sports were just going nuts. And I had no idea. So just kind of jumped back in, having no idea what I was doing just 5 years ago, and moved to Tennessee. And yeah, there's a lot more to the journey of how I ended up being a show promoter. But that's me, Joe Kalis from Chicago. Now live in Livingston, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes north of Cookville, right in between Nashville and Knoxville.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And that's super cool. I don't think I've been to Chicago yet. I might have.
Gotta go.
Yeah, I want to go. It's definitely on the place. I like Chicago, or at least like.
Don't stay there. Eat food. Eat a lot of good food, and a lot of good architecture. Our museums are amazing. A lot of cool stuff to see in Chicago, but don't want to live there. So you're better off here.
yeah, I feel that. I like it down here, but definitely go on a trip up there. I think would be cool. But that's super cool, and that's awesome how you found like you got reintroduced to TC like trading cards, sports cards. I don't know much of sports cards. I don't know anything about trading cards.
But
another reason why I was a little late is I went to the Nash cards. They had a thing going on right now where they Gary V, if you know Gary V.
Absolutely.
He was doing promo runs.
Topps Chrome release.
Yeah, I got some.
Hold on, give me 5 seconds. Watch this. Show and tell. You ready for this? I'm a VFriends guy myself, so I got.
Oh, that's sick! Yeah.
He signed the card, and then I got Series 1. So there's a couple series of VFriends. So this is about as close to Pokemon and trading card games as I'll get.
Yeah.
Got a couple Series 1s here. It's pretty cool what he's doing for sure. Sorry to interrupt, but just had to tell you that.
No, that's cool. That's super sick. And yeah, I got these signed. I met him.
He was there.
Yeah, he was there
today.
Yeah.
Dude, why didn't I know that?
Yeah, it was crazy. But it was fun, and I did.
That's awesome.
I did a little interview with him, met him, like talked to him, and it was really.
He held up the 5. You take a picture.
Yeah, he held up the 5. Yeah, and
do you know why he did that?
Yeah, it was for his mom, right, or something like that.
Yeah, his they were too poor to get him a New York Jets jersey, so his mom knit him a sweater and put the number 5 on it. So that was cool story.
I saw that. And yeah, that was crazy. It was interesting.
And
great
story.
Like, a great story and like totally full circle moment. But yeah, so I went to there. So what I was going to say is, I know sports, the majority of your stuff is printed in Topps Chrome, correct? Or by Topps Chrome, like in a way.
Technically Fanatics now. I mean, there's a lineage of the companies that have got absorbed and fallen into everything, but Fanatics pretty much, and Panini. Topps is just one. It's one of the original brands. Topps, not Topps Chrome, but Topps. Um, it depends on how far back you go. I'm 44 years old, and when I was a kid, there was just like four brands, and there were no parallels and numbered and patches and like all the stuff. You don't have patches, I don't think, in Pokemon, but there's numbered and parallels and variants. And when I was a kid in the 90s, it was just you just get the card. Maybe there was an insert set, but it's nothing like what it is today. So
what it is today. Cool.
But Topps Chrome is huge for VFriends. I mean, that's a huge that's a huge partnership for him. And honestly, that's the reason I bought these. I knew nothing about these, and they're kind of ridiculous to me. Just my daughter's 11, and she's like, "You paid how much for a card where the guy just drew a amped AA? Like, what is that even?" And I'm like, "I don't know," but Gary V's just smart enough to make it work. So I think there's going to be huge value in this stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something that I do too. I want to get these graded. But so pretty much what I was saying, like, this is like the closest I've ever gotten to sports cards. I love soccer. Like, I'm not baseball. I like baseball. I've sat and watched some games, and I enjoy it. Going to the games, watching it. Obviously, I love baseball hats. So I'm not, I'm a pretty big hat collector as well. I love baseball hats.
I always ask people with hats, I said, do you like the team or are you just a hat guy? Because most of the times they're just a collector and they don't care about the team. They don't even know what team is on their head usually.
Yeah. No, I feel that. That's part of it kind of was this. But yeah, so that's the closest I've gone to like actual sports cards. And I enjoy like soccer. I enjoy like football. I'll watch some football games. I enjoy watching football, baseball. I've watched some hockey.
Only so much time in the day. I mean, we all got to choose.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's what I was going to say with that. But that's super cool. And that's really cool story. And so you obviously, growing up and being like surrounded by that, and then resurging it into adulthood. How was that for you? Like, did you feel like you experienced like being a kid again, kind of through that, or like how was that resurgence? I guess.
1,000,000%. Yes, that's the only reason. And as I try to explain, like people, my wife, my daughter, people who think I'm ridiculous for collecting cards, why would you just get dirty cardboard? And there's really no logical reason. It doesn't make sense. I'm not a gambler, so like, cards is basically gambling with toys. And I'm like, so it doesn't make any sense except for I'm 44. I got a kid. I got a lot of responsibility. I got a job. Got church. Got like all these things I got to do in life. I get to. I love my family. Love my church. But like you understand responsibility when you can get away from that for a minute and just feel like a kid again. That's 100%. When I opened that box of cards when I was moving here from Chicago, I could literally feel what I felt as a kid. I knew where I was when I opened the pack to get those cards. I knew the stairs I was sitting on when I was trading with my buddies to get that card, or my brother or whatever. And it's just every card that I saw took me, and I'm getting the shivers now just like thinking about it. I just remember clear as my wife can tell me to go to Walmart and pick up 5 things, and I won't even remember what she asked me for. But I can remember where I was in '92 when I traded for the Frank Thomas rookie card and how I felt. So 100%, it's an emotional, just a nostalgic, feel like a kid again sort of thing. These are my toys, and I don't get to play often as a father and with a job and church responsibility and stuff. So I watch sports, and that's how I decompress. So I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I just watch sports and play with cards. So for me, it was just feeling like a kid again.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great, and that's also something that for me that is sparked this is like what you said, and something that is very I enjoy about collectibles and cards especially is like you remember when you got that card or that piece, whatever it might be. And something for me, like that's why I got into this mostly is because I want to have a card shop. I want to have a card shop in the future, and that is because, you know, I remember the first time I went to a card shop, you know, like
Heck yeah.
I was like 9 or 10, and I went in with my friend. It was on his birthday. And he was like, "Yo, Rocco, I found this really cool place." Because we were just like kids trading Pokemon cards at school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we were kind of still like, it was kind of just us two. So we were like the two only Pokemon people. And he was like, "Yo, Rocco, come on. Like, I found this cool place, you know, invite you to my birthday. We'll have fun. We'll just go out." And I wanted to go to this place. And he was like, I was like, "Okay, sure. I have no idea what this is, but let's go." And I immediately went in, and my mind was like, whoosh, my world like completely got flipped. And I was like, whoa, this exists. Like, there's people that, like, there's whole places dedicated to this. And ever since then, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, this is like, for me, like, okay, like, this is what I find like happiness in this, you know, and I find like fulfillment. Like, okay, this is, I guess I have to figure out how to get here someday. And that's kind of what I'm doing now, and what we're doing with shows too. And I would love to hear kind of like the story of why you started like doing shows and stuff like that, and if it was kind of anything similar.
Yeah, well, you use the word happiness. You know, it's hard to find happiness in this world sometimes. I have a strong faith life, so I find my joy in the Lord. But outside of that, it's like the world crushes you repeatedly. So to find your happy place in the world is tough, and people are, you know, upset about things. And I can just go to this. It's ridiculous. Like, some people paint, and some people, everyone's got their stress relief. I mean, cards can be stressful, don't get me wrong, and hosting a show for sure is stressful at times. So I won't say that it's easy by any means, but it's just fun. And that was, but when I think about it, it comes down to community. I'm a community guy. Like, I didn't live in the generation where people would just walk up to your house and walk in the front door. And, you know, well, actually, when I was a kid, people would walk in the front door and just invite themselves in for dinner and sit around and like sit on the front porch and just sit for hours and do nothing. We're so distracted by our phones these days, and you got to be doing something all the time. But I love community where people just get around with a like cause and are passionate and passionate. I don't go anywhere or hang out with anyone that's not passionate about what they're doing. And I try to live that way myself. So when I found out that, you know, card collectors were passionate about sports, as dumb as it is to root for other people that have nothing to do with my life, it's just what we do. That's what it's nostalgic in the sense that I would watch sports with my dad, my brother, my family growing up. And so I go back to those places where I remember being with family, and that's why I fell in love with sports. But creating a community of a place where not only adults like me that can come around with a place, a happy place, if you want to call it that, but getting kids involved, like having a safe place for kids to do something and to learn a skill. I mean, flipping cards and arbitrage and like all the stuff that it's entrepreneurial skills, really. That's what Gary Vee talks about, is #flip life. You go to a garage sale, go to Goodwill, whatever, find something for $5, sell it for 20. Like, that's a huge life skill. So I love the community element of it. And I just had one of my dealers tell me the only reason he sits with us is because he doesn't have any friends. And he feels for the first time in years and years and years that he's got people that get him, that he can just sit with and have a conversation, and they understand where he's coming from. So, like, you know, again, I'm being in church life, but if not there, then like creating communities of sports fans or dance troops or whatever it is for you. For me, that was the inspiration of getting together. I met Nathan Hetty, who works at 931 Sports Cards in town. He's a pastor as well. He was setting up at a show in Sparta, Tennessee, which is south of Cookville. That was November 2024. No, 23. November 23. He and I were both sitting at a show in Sparta at the community center, and it was like 5 dealers and like 10 people came through. It was a terrible show. It just, nobody showed up, right? So I said that out loud before, and the show promoter got mad at me. And if he sees this, whatever, it wasn't a great show. It wasn't promoted that well. And I thought, hey, we could promote better. Like, and I was going to work with him, but you know, it didn't work out. And I said, I talked to Gary Brady, actually runs Brady Printing in Sparta, and he was he was running the show with another guy. And I said, hey, Gary, would you mind if we did something in Cookville? It's a little more central, and you know, I could put some muscle behind this. my background is I met my wife at college as a music promoter. So I was always hosting hosting an event. So I hosted shows in the college, in the community center, whatever, at Illinois State. So I was hosting concerts. I've always hosted parties. And when I saw that show wasn't really promoted well, I'm a natural promoter. When I get excited about something, I'll tell everyone in the world about it. I'm like, Gary, would you care if I just, throw up some tables in Cookville? Nathan's a pastor of a church. He said we could do some tables there, and we'll start with a trade night. We'll just invite people over to trade cards, bring out their collections, and sit around some tables. No idea what that was going to entail. I actually thought it would be me, Nathan, and one other guy that we were friends with, and the three of us just dorking out, sitting around, and it would have been the time of my life. And that was November that I sat with him at the show. December, we did our trade night, and 30 people showed up. And I was over the moon. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, there's 30 people in Cookville, Tennessee that give a crap about cards. Like, it just blew my mind. And Nathan and I, we kind of decided from there we'd start the next month in the church and throw up some tables and have a show. And that was our first show at Friendship Church. That was January 2024. He had tables there, and we sold out his sanctuary, and then we had an activity room. We sold that one out, and I'm like, what is happening here? I don't know how to do this. People ask me like, how'd you learn how to do shows? I'm like, I just did something, and actually Abe was the first, he went to that first show. That's where I met him. And he was upstairs. The third room that we sold out was a youth activity room upstairs. And I you can't break your sciatic nerve, but lugging tables upstairs that was the Pokemon room up there, and that's where I met Abe. And my sciatic nerve was pinched for like 4 months, and it was the worst pain in my life. And I'm like, I gotta hire someone to lug these tables. So anyway, long story short, it just started with, hey Nathan, nice to meet you. You want to do something better than this? Okay. Turned into a trade night, went well, met some new friends, and they said they'd buy a table. And so we did our January show, and it sold out. 30 tables, then 60, then 75. And I'm like, this is nuts. I had no clue that anybody would actually care. And so did 2 shows there at the church, and then got introduced to Avery Trace, and through the athletic program, Jeremy Tollison, who's the co-owner of Ninth Ruin Sports Cards in Cookville. His son played basketball at Avery Trace, and he introduced us to those guys, and it's been there since. So 13 shows in the bag, learning every time a little bit more. And it's just one thing. You just keep getting better every time, and taking feedback. And so then that's I'll speak to your show and how that, my perspective of how that came about. But that's the history of Upper Cumberland Cards show. And we just called it that because I didn't want it to be Nashville or Knoxville or Chattanooga, just the Upper Cumberland region, to tie all the big cities together. So I'm willing to go to Nash Cards and the Lighthouse show in Nashville, or the Flip or any of these bigger shows, but I knew that most people weren't. So I'm like, why don't we just bring something to Cookville? And we're perfectly located right in the middle. So I love this location. So that's how I was born.
Cool. No, that's great. And I love that story. And very similar to what Abe and I had done with Grails is we had been doing trade nights. So my story is I started really getting into this in November of last year. And I really got big into this. And I started kicking it with Abe. We started doing shows, lighthouses together, all that type of stuff. And then we had trade nights that we did at Tony, if you know Tony Wynn, or his Boba's shop. So we did Pokemon trade nights or trade days. Very similar, very tiny, like a Starbucks type space. And we just have fun and trade and flip. And I told him on our first one, so we had an end of the year party pretty much in December before Christmas. And I told him, obviously I'm a high school student and we have a gym, and I had done Lighthouse before. And when I was in Lighthouse, I was like, my school gym is bigger than this. And I know there's a demand. There was people at the time talking about, hey, we want just a Pokemon only show. Like we're not tired of having sports people, but we want to have the sports people with them and the Pokemon people with themselves, so it's not like as much confusion, or it's more streamlined. And I told Abe, at the show, or our trade night, our December trade night, I was like, hey, my school gym is bigger than this. Why don't we start doing this in my school gym? And he was like, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love to do that. And then it took a little while, but then we started. I asked my principal. I'm very I'm a leader in the school, so I had like good standing with the principal. She's like, oh yeah, sure. Let me just give you guys all the details, etc. She gave us all the details. We got to work, and then in April we started our first one. We launched our first one, and it was fun. Not a crate. We had like I think 50 tables, so very good, mostly Pokemon, and people were like, "What the heck?" Like it was just cool. And then our second show, we doubled in size pretty much, and like probably quadrupled the amount of people that came through. So it was like really big. That was this May 4th. And it was just up from there. I know like Abe sent a screenshot of, I think you texted him like, hey, I had a whole bunch of people excited for your show tomorrow. Like, I hope it's good. Because I think it was, there was a show on Friday. No, I think it was Cookville.
My show was the third. Yeah.
So it was Cookville, and then it was Grails. And that whole weekend, like people were just buzzing and buzzing and buzzing about it.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. And now we're kicking it from there. We're gonna continue it in my school gym throughout the summer, and throughout like all that stuff. But I probably probably once school starts, so August will probably be our last our last show in my school gym, and then we will have to move to a bigger location because we're getting too big. Very similar to kind of what you said with the church
Good
and all
problem.
that.
Yeah,
it's a good problem to have, and it's awesome that the interest in there, especially if it's like primarily Pokemon, and like you said before, it's a community, right? We're bringing people in. We something that we love to do is like we have like vendor breakfast for people, like just like small stuff, nothing crazy, but like vendor breakfast, have them in, hey, load up time and all that type of stuff. And I was reading the email that I sent because I should be doing, like I said, I should be doing June. The email that you sent, and I was like, wow, this is like really good. Like I'm taking notes and all this type of stuff from everything.
you can steal it all.
Yeah. And I love like very similar, like how we format it with like vendor load up time and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for it. I think it's gonna be great. We are looking for a bigger location, obviously, like we said. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing right now. But it's fun, and I get it. There's just like a buzz that you get when you run these things. Like it's like, wow, it's so fun. And to see those people do it.
Yeah, when I hadn't heard from Abe in a while. He set up only one time, but we'd always stayed in touch, and he was always friendly. I told everyone he was like the friendliest guy in my whole show. That show that he came, and I was so excited that he was up there, kind of keeping track of things. And then he told me he was thinking about doing his own Pokemon show, and I don't know if he was like nervous to say that to me as like competition. I'm like, absolutely, man. The funny thing about it is, Pokemon's growing faster than sports around here. That's also the card store in Cookville, Ninth Run Sports, will reflect that as well. They're selling way more wax. They can't keep Pokemon when it comes out, if they can get it, for that matter. So their sales are very top heavy of Pokemon, and they're a sports card shop, and they're like frustrated, quote unquote, but not really. You kind of got to go where business goes. But my show it's creeping percentage wise. We were probably 20% tables Pokemon, then 25, then 30. Last show was 34% Pokemon tables, and we're like, at some point I'm gonna have to cut it off. Like, I don't think because it's a sports card show, I'll probably limit it at 40% Pokemon. But when Abe told me he was doing a Pokemon only show, I'm like, that's amazing, because I might just push all my people to you and tell them to stay away from my show. Like, I would prefer to be 100% sports. I think, but that's the kind of, like, I'm not the funny thing is that, and maybe if there's sports card dealers watching this, they'll get mad at me, but Pokemon people have way more fun, honestly. I just put together a guide of how to sell better, like a seller's guide, for just to attract people to come to my show and set up. And I can share that with you as well if you haven't got it. But
Yeah.
The number one thing is have a good attitude. Like dealers will come and they'll be scowly and like pissed off and like, and then they wonder why they don't sell anything. I'm like, well, people don't want to come by you because you look like a stinking turd. Like
Yeah.
have fun with yourself. You interact with the kids, say hi, ask them what they're looking for, just talk sports, like pretend like you enjoy being there or don't come. And I've turned dealers away if they have a bad attitude because I'm not interested. Like that's not why we do that. We don't. If it turns into a money thing and you're pissed off about life and that you're not making enough money, then go somewhere else. Like I don't want that sort of philosophy of a dealer. So all that to say, Pokemon people, maybe it's just the imagination and the artistry behind Pokemon and the fantasy world of it, and it's fiction. And maybe that's what leads to people being more excited about it. They're just more playful in general. But my Pokemon dealers are way easier to deal with, way happier to be there, by and large. So I'm like, I got to limit it because it's a sports card show, but I'm like, man, but I really like these people better. So I was excited when Abe told me that he was doing a Pokemon only show because I'm like, good, I'll push some people over there because I'm trying to get some of the best sports card dealers, but it's got to be a good mix. So I don't know that I'll ever go 100% sports cards by any means, but it's just I welcome competition, and there's the more shows the better. I think people are willing to travel up and down I-40 to go to multiple shows in any given day, so I'm not scared of other shows on the same day. If given the option, I'd say don't do it, but I stagger with the Lighthouse on purpose because I don't want to conflict. So it's fun, but it's just learning along the way. It's got to be really sensitive to the feel of the room and what people are thinking and what they're asking for, what they're missing. I don't even really set up anymore. I do set up, but I think I might just not even have a table anymore. Do you set up and host the show?
Yeah. So
it's hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. How I do it though is because I have a brother. My younger brother Luca helps me.
Okay.
I'll have to introduce you to him when we go. But he helps me, so he will run the booth. He runs the booth.
Yeah.
And then
that works.
And then I do like management stuff, right? Whoever needs me. I'm there to walk around and do all that stuff and make sure everyone's good and happy and there's no complaints.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do that. But that's it's super cool, and thank you for that. And I'm looking forward, like, because I've heard, it's good when, like, for your shows, like for the Cookville shows, whenever someone talks about it, it's always positive. Like I've always felt like a good positive like vibe to it, or they're like, oh yeah, we're vending at Cookville this weekend. Like they're happy about it, they're genuine. And that's like, for me, it's like great. Like I would love to go down and have fun, see what's it about.
All right.
And it's definitely, that's super cool. And I think that's something that is great for all people, and like show owners and all that stuff, is you have to create that atmosphere. You have to create the drive, much like you said with the vendors. You don't want a sour vendor. You don't want a sour show. You want it to be a nice attitude, happy, pleasant, like good vibe. People are wanting to come. Good, spread out of tables and stuff like that. Have food and stuff. I saw that you guys have food trucks, which is great. Because for me, I think Cookville's like, it's like an hour away from me, which is fine. But it's like I won't be able probably to get stuff, so I'll get food and all that stuff. So like stuff like that is great, and I look forward to it. But I agree with what you said about having that positive attitude and stuff like that.
I call it shenanigans. Any fun ideas I come up with, it's just what's the most ridiculous thing we could possibly try? Okay, I mean, it's like you steal stuff from Savannah Bananas and like just try to find things that are fun to do. We want to have more autograph session. Like I don't know what you can do in Pokemon, but we always want to add something new to each show to make it a better time. And we get that from feedback. Most people just say more. The dealers will always say more foot traffic, and I do try to work on that every show, print and online media and all the stuff. I won't get into philosophy of how to run a show, but shenanigans every time I want to do something crazy.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I just have fun.
Yeah, no, to have fun, because that's at the end of the day, like it's a business, but at the same time, it's collectibles, it's cards. It's not, it's fun, but it's also good. Cool. I was gonna ask because so obviously I'm someone to Pokemon. I'm Pokemon World. I'm not Sports World, and I like sports stuff, like I said before. But I just don't know anything about it. So what would be if I were to get into a sports card thing or something like that? Like, what is like the best way to go about it, or like what's the best way to understand the sports? Because I know, like for Pokemon, for example, this card, let's just say this card right here, it has a value, and usually the value of a card will decrease or increase based on the supply of the card in circulation. But I know with sports cards, it's kind of like that, but then also it's based off of real people, so it's based off real world. So like if you have a player that has a bad run in a season, then his card might go down. At least that's what I think. But I don't know. So what is kind of
It's
like
it's
basic
worse than that.
introduction to this?
Yeah, it's even harder because of pop culture. Ja Morant, one of the greatest basketball players in the league, flashed a gun, and he got arrested, and his Wander Franco, one of the biggest baseball prospects in history, he got arrested for child molestation, and you can't give away his cards anymore. So there, and then on the flip side, you got Travis Kelce, who starts dating Taylor Swift, and all of a sudden Travis Kelce, a very average, he's a pretty good tight end, I guess, in football, but because he's dating Taylor Swift, and then Taylor Swift cards go up as well, whatever cards she has with being a singer. It's so pop culture influences things too. Injuries, pop culture, Hall of Fame. There's so many intangibles. So if you were to ask me how do you approach sports, I mean, there's a million ways you can go at it. It just depends on what you want to do. This stuff behind me, this is my personal collection. This is just stuff that I like. This is some of it's valuable, but I don't really care. This is just cards that I had as a kid. Um, Cards I think are funny. Eloy Jimenez was on the White Sox, but he got drafted by the Cubs. I'm from Chicago. Cubs Sox rivalry is a big thing. So the opposite way, which makes me sad, is Fernando Tatis was a White Sox draft pick, and he went to the Padres. So like I collect cards behind me that I just love. They're probably not worth much, but I think they look cool. They're nostalgic. I love Frank Thomas. I'm a sports fan because of Frank Thomas. You said you're in high school. That's crazy to me. I don't even know if you probably know. Are you in high school? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah. So I
Wow.
just
Okay.
finished my junior year of high school. I'm a senior in high school now.
I would not have guessed that. You're very mature. But
Well, thank
anyway,
you.
and so in
I try.
1990, Frank Thomas was a rookie. You weren't even a thought at that point. Um, and I collect what I want because I'm an adult with a job and I have money. And when I was a kid, I could not afford these cards. So I mean, there's some modern here that obviously didn't exist, but Frank Thomas rookie card back then, it was like impossible for me to get that. And now I got it. So as an adult, I'm like, haha, I'll show them. As a kid, I
Yeah.
couldn't have that, but now I can buy it. So there's a personal collection, and then there's if you want to make money, if you want to flip cards. Flipping is it's there's so many different ways you can go at it. So yes, supply and demand. There's eras of cards. I mean, vintage, anything before 1980 is quote unquote vintage. 80 to 2010 or so is what they call junk wax because they way overproduced everything. That's the Topps Donruss Score, Upper Deck, the sets before Panini took over everything. So the junk wax era is largely worth nothing. Let me give you a good example. Yahtzee. Frank Thomas, rookie card, score 1990. They printed like 7 bazillion of this card, so it's pretty much worth nothing. And it only graded a 9, so grading is a whole other
Yeah.
factor. I just think tuxedo, I like SGC because of the tuxedo look. I think it looks nice. So I put cards that I like. This card's worth like $2, maybe, raw. And then you put in a slab and it might be worth 10. It costs $20 to slab it. So like I took a loss getting this graded, but I just wanted Frank Thomas in a tuxedo because I like Frank Thomas. So the junk wax era, 80 to 2010, way overprinted. And the manufacturers back then didn't care about the quality. So they printed it off center, the corner, kids stick them in their bike spokes. You put push pins in them. we didn't care when we were kids. We didn't care about quality, but now grading is taken off like in the mid '90s, and corners, edges, surface, and centering. Everybody's like, will it grade well? Everybody's all obsessed about grading cards now. So it's just kind of took the fun out of it. So you've got gradability, you've got the era of card it is, you've got the player themselves. I mean, like Mark McGwire was a steroid king. Barry Bonds, maybe the best baseball player of all time, but he was on steroids, so he's not valuable at all. Just there's pop culture, there's talent, there's quality of the cards, there's which sport it is. I mean, in America, football and basketball reign supreme. Baseball's kind of behind all that. Hockey is distant fourth in main sports. Honestly, wrestling and soccer are probably worth more than hockey. More popular. WNBA is taken off because of Caitlin Clark now, which I think is pretty cool. So there's really no answer for that. It really comes down to what do you want to do. Like there's a risk to losing money if you're trying to make money in cards, whichever way you go. As for me, I like small wins slowly. Some people will go prospect hunting and look for the next big name or the guy who's going to run in the playoffs and spike in value or whatever, be the Super Bowl MVP, whatever. You know, you can collect Lamar Jackson thinking the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, and then they do, and his cards go up a little bit. But it's such a boom or bust thing. And then he might get arrested. I like vintage because they're all mostly dead and they can't do anything stupid, and values rise and fall very, very slowly. So I stick with older cards for the most part, but newer cards are super shiny and I like them, and they look cool. So sometimes I'll prospect hunt, but it just depends on your risk aversion. Like, how much risk do you want to take? How much emotion can you stomach if you see that your favorite player sucks this week and his values go down, but knowing that he's going to do well next? It's just it's like the stock market. I mean, it's just like if Apple or Tesla do good or bad. You're just gambling. It's playing the market.
Yeah, that's super.
So
cool.
How's that for a simple answer? I don't know. I don't know is my answer.
No,
just collect what you like, and now if you want to make money, like if you want to start a sports card shop, you got to get access to wax. You got to sell wax and have a good, breaking. You need to be a breaker, and you got to sell online. Like, having a store is multifaceted. Or to make true profit as a business. Like, most dealers that set up with me are not a business. They just sell stuff and make a couple bucks. But if you want to start a business, there's a whole strategy behind that, and that's a whole separate topic.
No, that's
sports, cool. Not Pokemon. Pokemon's probably different.
Yeah, Pokemon's a little bit more different. At least at the level that I'm at right now, it's just mostly numbers. Like, it's numbers and reprints. So, for example, I had this set. I picked up this set. This is the second time I've had this entire set. It's 4 cards that are graded, and they are the gods of Pokemon. And printed in 2023, so they're 2 years old at this point. And they were. It's a good set to have. It's pretty good. I paid for my first set. I paid like $700 for them. And then they went up. So I sold them for like, I think 1,000 or trade and sold. But then so I picked them up again, and this time around, because of like print runs, they're not out of print. No, they're out of print, or they're going to become out of print soon. So that depends on the value. But a bunch of people are opening it. So now with a whole bunch of people opening it, especially like streaming and stuff like that, now they're flooding the market. So there's a lot more in these in circulation than it was like 2 months ago even. So the value has dipped a little. But that's kind of how it is mostly. It's mostly numbers at that point. It's not like there's specific Pokemon that will have higher value, but nothing crazy. And but yeah, that's kind of Pokemon. It's not super complicated. But that's
the big difference. I think the big difference is that we have seasons. Like, I don't know if Pokemon. So I guess to go back to your original question and answer it succinctly and simply, what I advise people do is you pick your sport that you want to go, or if you want to do all sports, pay attention to when it's in season and off season. And so we just, where are we? Football's about to start preseason. So we're off season for football, and values are usually lower. So now's a buying opportunity. So you buy low and sell high. It's like the market. So that's off season and in season with any sport. So you just pay it. I just posted on our page specifying the months where it's in season and off season. So you buy in the off season and sell in season, and even more so, you sell right at the beginning of the season when hype is high, when spring training is coming up, and these players are just getting before they get injured or suck or whatever. Like there's hype that's irrational, just because a sport is starting again, not because they're good, not because they're hitting, not because they've done anything. It's because the sport is starting again. So as far as values are concerned in sports, buy in the off season, sell in season. And if you can have the maturity, and it really comes down to discipline and financial savvy, I guess, at some point to be able to invest the money in the off season when you know you're going to have to hold it for a minute until it gets in season. You might need to hold a card for 3, 4, 5 months until it gets in season, or they make a playoff run or whatever. But you buy low, sell high, and you can do that repeatedly as long as you're strategic about it. The problem is that we get emotional about it, and we're like, "Ooh, I just want that guy," like, and in season he's killing it. And we're like, oh, I got to get in on that guy, but he's hit his peak, and but you're in a frenzy. You're like, I got to get this guy right now.
Yeah.
So as long as you can harness your emotions with it, and strategically buy low, sell high, in season, off season, that's really probably the best strategy that I could possibly advise, long term.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's super super cool. I that very similar to Pokemon, in a way, and
Okay.
I'm like, that's great, and that's cool. Like, I kind of like, I like soccer. So soccer's like my primary sport. So I'd probably get some cards on that, but like, I don't know like crazy amounts, like before, like I said before, but that's super cool. I I had a friend, or I remember the Nationals, which I don't know if you've probably been to the Nationals, I assume.
I have not. It's in Chicago and Cleveland. Flips the sports nationals, at least. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the Nationals that are here.
The Nashville, the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, fairgrounds.
Yes, I have been there.
Okay, yes. I enjoy those a lot. And or I've been to two. I've been to one. And the first one I went to, I met this wrestling sports card guy. And that was crazy. I was like, whoa, I didn't even know like this existed. And I think that's super cool. And
Here's my one wrestling card I have.
That's
the
sick.
Bushwhackers
That's
from
so
the
cool.
80s. I gemmed it too.
So
That's pretty awesome. You're way too young to know who the Bushwhackers are, but they were hilarious. I just thought this card was stupid and hilarious, so I got it.
Yeah. I think that's sick. And what I was gonna say is, I think, like, obviously, like, cycles happen.
Yeah.
And what I was gonna say was, that, sorry, like sports gain more popularity, over time. So I think like wrestling is starting to resurge again. And like other stuff is, I know, like, for example, that. And I don't know if that affects markets at all. I'm sure it does, but I think that's super cool. And it's just a different part of something that's very important to a lot of people. And I'm sure like there's stuff during like the Olympics and stuff like that where certain people get pumped or sports get pumped or some stuff like that. So I'm sure it's it
smaller
seems
sports
a lot more
are
complicated.
It can be, and the smaller sports are more about pop culture. Like if there's a wrestler that's in the news, and if The Rock comes back around, or Triple H, or like if they do some media stunt or something, it's just like sports. If you become top of the news stories in the world, soccer, David Beckham, I mean, doing philanthropic things, or dating someone or whatever. It's just everything is a factor, which is different than when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
it's a lot harder to follow values, whether it's Pokemon or sports anymore than it was when I was a kid. So it's kind of but now there's apps as well that track things, and there's, Facebook groups where you can ask questions, and there's more community, more technology to help you to keep up with it. But it's just like the whole world. It's just gotten a lot more complicated, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I just collect
Cool.
what I like.
That's awesome.
I find the top 2 or 3 guys in every sport, and I'll buy them and sell them and make a couple bucks and take that profit and buy what I like. And I'll basically come out net zero, and I'll just have a bunch of cards on my shelf that I like. And I didn't win money and I didn't lose money. I flip the guys that are hot and turn the profit into cards that I like. That's how I like to
That's
collect.
awesome. I think, no, that's a great business model, and I think that's awesome. And I think that has a lot of people are like that in Pokemon too, where they will flip something, and then they'll go buy something that they like. I think that's great, and that's super cool.
And there is value in it. I mean, this wall is worth a couple $1,000s. I don't want to sell it. I don't, but at the end of the day, if I had to, it's So,
and I think that's great, and that's awesome. What I was going to talk more about show stuff. So obviously you've been running this for about a year, right? The Cookville shows.
year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay, that's super cool. So you guys started, and then you guys have grown since then. What's your guys' like average table? Like, how many tables do you guys do on average?
We are up to 135 tables, which usually means about 75 dealers, 75 dealers. It's usually about 2 tables per dealer on average. Usually about 300 attendees that we started to take $1 admission just to give to the athletic program of Avery Trace, but also to count people. So about 300 attendees, 135 tables. We have room for 170 tables in the room, but I personally, as a show host, and this is probably, I would give you a tip if you want to hear it. I could get more dealers and I could shove more tables in there, but I'm not going to until I get more foot traffic. I don't want to just get more dealers and water it down so that all of them sell less. I want the dealers to thrive and to do good. So until I can get more foot traffic through, I will probably cap it at 135 tables.
No, I think that's great, and that's something that we experienced at our first show, and even a little bit at this show or this last show, was people were like, "Hey, I don't feel like there's enough foot traffic," or they were talking about that. And
they'll always say that. But,
but I think that's great, and that's true, and it's like you're trying to defend your vendors, right? Because they're the lifeblood of the show. So you want them, like, you don't want to oversaturate the market with, you don't want to have a too much product but no demand,
Correct.
and I think that is super important and something that should be done. I think that's awesome, and that's great that you guys are doing that, especially in Cookville. I think it's awesome, and like I said before, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll ask, like, what are some of like your favorite memories from running the show? I'm sure you guys have had some crazy deals happen. I know at Grails and Glory last time, we had there were multiple like big number deal, like probably like 5-figure deals that were happening in the room, and we were like, what the heck? Like, how is that happening in our like show? Like, what? That's crazy to think. But like, what are some of your like favorite memories or some super crazy stuff that you've witnessed or deals and stuff like that in shows?
I mean, the big deals are always fun. Assuming that everybody is a winner. I guess I don't really pay attention enough to have seen the deal. I hear about them. I hear about, people doing big deals, selling a whole one of my favorite things is when a dealer sells out and they'll be packing up at noon, walking out, and I think they're upset with me They're like, oh, somebody's bought my whole collection. That's a good day. And I'm like, all right, well, praise God, let's go. So, when dealers get bought out, that's always good because attendees come to stock up for other shows. And
Mhm.
I got bought out a couple collections, and it's always a good day for that. I like bringing in people for autographs, even though I lost money at one of them. Getting I don't know how this parlays to Pokemon, but some athletes will have a guarantee, and I, brought someone in with a guarantee and didn't hit the sales, but I'll do a better job promoting. But having Peerless Price was the 1998. Again, you weren't even a thought at that point. He was the 1998 National Championship Team hero. So the Tennessee Vols football team won in '98. That's the last time they won a state championship. And Peerless Price he was a wide receiver. He caught the winning touchdown. And so he came out for an autograph session, and he had all the coolest stories in the world. And he went to the pros. He played for the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, and I think the Falcons. And he just had really cool stories about some of my favorite players, and who's a diva and who's awesome to play with, and stuff like that. So nicest guy in the world. So having Peerless out, Tim Redding was a guy that I had heard of him. He was a baseball pitcher for 8 years in the major leagues, never an all-star. He wasn't shy about saying that. He's like, I'm just a nobody. I played in the league for 8 years. And I'm like, well, that's somebody. Like, I don't care if you're an all-star, Hall of Famer, or what. If you're getting the bigs for 8 years as a starting pitcher, like, come on, give me a break. So he's a friend of mine now. It's just cool that you make these connections and you get to meet some of your heroes. And I wouldn't say Peerless Price is my hero, but somebody Peerless Price is their hero, and they came out and got an autograph. So the funnest part of it is when kids, just light up. Like, most of the kids don't know who Peerless Price is, but they know the stories through their parents, and they get excited about an athlete coming in and showing off his rings, and it's stuff like that. Anything to get the kids excited, which isn't really hard because kids are excited about a lot of things. One of my favorite parts of the show, when I like watching the parents that are like struggling because their kids are there and they want to spend all their money, and just seeing like the parents are like, why do we come here, and just seeing the struggle of parents trying to tell their kids no. And but kids just get so excited, and you give them $1 card and they think it's like $1 million card, and they'll run out and holding it and drop it out of the case and be like, they don't care. So just seeing the true joy, the childlike faith of a kid going to a show and being excited again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's great. And like I said before, I think that's awesome, and that's true. And I experience that all the time at our shows, and I enjoy it, and it makes it worth it. It makes it.
Yeah.
This is why I'm doing this. So that those kids can have that, and I think that's great.
I was that kid, and I have to. I try not to forget that the feeling I had at my first show when I went to the strip mall, and it was like 50 tables, but it felt like a stinking, like a football field of card. I was just. I was going to ask if you ever went back to the card shop that you went to when you were younger, because I went back to my childhood card shop, and it was like so underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I was a kid, man, this place was like Wally World. Like, I was like, this place was larger than life. And I come here and it's just this little cinder block room. And I'm like, is this really the same store? But as a kid, you're just wide eyed, and it was the best place in the world. So I try to just remember that's what those kids are seeing. This is the greatest time of their life.
Yeah. So the shop that we do, or my shop, it's my local shop, Next Level Games, and they actually vend at our show now.
Cool.
So it's like a full circle moment of being like, wow, you're like one of the main reasons why I'm here, and now you guys are pouring into it, and they probably don't even know. Like, I used to be the regular there, but I haven't really pulled up since I've been doing business stuff with this. But I would like to go back and sorry. I'd like to go back and have them be like, oh wow, so you're the kid that's running all these shows. So like, and you guys are like a major reason why I did it.
That's awesome. They'd love to hear that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I got me into it and hooked, honestly. But yeah, I've been there, and it's still beautiful. I love going there. I still enjoy it very much. yeah, that's kind of what for me is too. And like you said before, those kids that just you give them anything, like you will give them a free, like I give them, let's see, I give them like something like I had this experience. Was it like 2 days ago? I think. Where I went to a kid's birthday party and I kind of got these kids into Pokemon, and then these kids kind of got the rest of the elementary school into Pokemon. So they kind of like started a big Pokemon revival at the elementary school, connected to my high school. So
Yep.
I was able to, I bought them some stuff, and they're like, "Wow, this is great." But you give them something like this, where it's not even worth a couple cents. It's worth
Yeah.
like a fraction of a penny because of the condition it's in. But you
I
give
don't
that
care.
to them, and they're like, "Whoa, like this is crazy. It's the best thing in the world." And it's just worth it for me. It's awesome to do that and to have give those kids that opportunity and that feeling that I experienced, and kind of just giving back, which I feel like is in the collectible TCG space a lot, is that attitude, that positive attitude, like giving back to people and stuff like that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I just saw in a reel, it was some card shop that gives away, they took their commons and they'll repack them. I don't know if it's just plastic sandwich bags or if they actually have like real packs or wax or whatever. But basically taking 10 just common cards or whatever and repack, they make their own packs and they give them away to soccer, teams. And I was thinking like, at the risk of seeming like a drug dealer, like I've been trying to think of how to get into like a soccer game with all those kids. The YMCA is across the street from our school, and there's always soccer games on the weekends. And I don't want to be the creepster that walks up there and like hands out flyers. But if I were to just go with the box of repacks, like 10 commons packaged up, and just, hey, I'm just giving away sports cards. We got a sports card show every month across the street. We'd love to have you. But we want to give away some cards to some kids. We've got extra, and I know how cool it is when I was a kid when somebody gave me something for free, like going to the soccer games, the t-ball games, and just giving them away to kids. So I've been wondering if that would make me super creepy, or like they think I'm a drug dealer, or if they thought it would be cool. So
Hey, kid, you want some packs?
I know. That's my white van over there. I got more free cards, candy cards. So yeah, I'm conscious of not being a creepster, but I do want to bless kids with free cards and ultimately entice them to make their parents bring them to a show. So just thinking of offline ideas like that, because Facebook groups and online promotion only goes so far before you got to hit the streets, put up some flyers, network with the local businesses, get a street team going. So I thought that giving kids free candy would, be a good play, but we'll see. I don't want to get arrested either.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And that's something that we've done too, is like on the boots on the ground stuff.
Yeah.
Is great, and that really helps in connecting with like your Game Stops and stuff like that, your sports shops, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And
let your dealers help, by the way, if I can give you another unasked for tip. Yeah. I'm very bad about not asking people for help. I'm pretty talented and I can do a lot of things, but at the same time, my dealers, my committed dealers want to give back and they want to help me, and they tell me, and I'm like, I'll let you know. But like, really think about how you can spread the load with, I know it's 3 of you guys that run the show, but your dealers would probably want to help too. I mean, they want to set up tables or chairs or, promote, hand out flyers, hang flyers, go to the coffee shops, get in the kids programs. Like, I'm starting to allow myself to let other people help me. I'm not very good about that in life. But they just want to be a blessing. And so so let your dealer network help, because it's a community they want to give back. That's the community that I've built, and I believe you guys are as well, just from what I've seen. So let them be a part of it. It would go a long way.
Yeah, no, and that's 100% true, and that's something that we are trying to do with that. And there's always vendors that help, and we always help them. And we have our tracker, like we have our vendor tracker, and in the future, something that we're thinking about doing for Grails is for those people that have been there since the first show, like, hey, like, thank you guys so much for being a part of us since the beginning and like believing in this and all that type of stuff. Here's a discount for your table, or once you've hit 10 shows with us, you get the next 2 shows free on us.
Yeah.
Stuff like that to kind of give back to those people and for all their help and their support and like sticking.
Now I have to do that. Dang it. My dealers are going to see us. They're going to be like, you didn't give me any free tables. But you're right. I should. That's absolutely true.
Well, also, you run your tables. Your pricing is like phenomenal for stuff because you guys do 35, right?
Just went up to 35. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like crazy. Like that for me, like that I'll take that all day. So I think that's amazing price that you guys are doing. And we do 50, but that's because of expenses and stuff like that we have to put in, which I'm trying to put into consideration. But that's awesome. And that's also like we're more inclined to do that. But yeah, that's super cool. And I like all the stuff that we're talking about. I was going to ask, since you've given some advice, like what are some of your tips and advice and tricks and all that type of stuff for bending a show, running show smoothly, or like, just to bring to be ready for anything?
As a seller or as a host? Or both? I alluded to just have a good time. You got to have a good time and you got to have good product. And the dealers that, quote unquote, complain that they didn't sell anything, it's because they had a scowl on their face or they didn't have good stuff. So learn how to read the market and do research to find out what inventory you should have. Because literally every month it changes. And that's the real kicker of sports is it's hard to keep up with. But if you want to succeed, if you actually want to sell and do well as a seller, you have to be in tune with the market. You can't just try to sell the same thing every month and the same stuff that didn't move last month. You think it's going to sell this month. Some things will, but largely you got to really pay attention to the pulse of the market, how the players are, injuries and all that stuff. So have a good time and pay attention to your inventory. That's the name of the game. It's and then as far as the show host, I don't, like I said, I set up a table, but I don't even sit there. I run around the room all day long. I'm trying to engage with the dealers, make them laugh, make sure they don't need anything. I have a speaker with a microphone and I announce where the bathrooms are and food trucks, and my daughter sells these bracelets. So like I'm always making announcements every 30, 45 minutes, just to keep it lively. I play live music, or not live music. I play Spotify music quietly. Just there's nothing worse than a weird silent, uncomfortable silence at a show or whatever. So I've considered doing a live break there, just pepping it up with something. But just as a show host, I like to run around and engage with my people and make sure everybody's taken care of. And that's gone a long way. There's so many logistics. Obviously, I don't need to bore anybody about, how to get tables and chairs and set up and all the stuff and accounting and I have a million. I actually created the seller's guide. So if anybody's watching this in the future and they want my seller's guide is mostly for sports cards dealers, but it applies the same way to Pokemon. I don't think there's any difference there as far as how to be a successful seller based on my experience. So I have a full guide. If you want to hit me up at Upper Cumberland Cards, I'd be glad to share that with anybody. I'll send it to you for that matter, and Abe. There's really nothing to it. Have a good time, have good stuff. And as a show host, just pretend like it's a party and make sure people are happy.
Yeah. No, I think exactly. And that's all that stuff too. I have a playlist that I do. I have all that type of stuff. And I think that's great.
Curated playlist, by the way. I love Spotify radio channels, but I'm too nervous because it's a family environment and I've heard some songs that I didn't want playing. So I make my own playlists just for the record.
No, that's true. That's true. And that's great. And I've done the same thing too. But what I was going to say is that education part of it. And that's something that I'm seeing and we're talking about for probably a year from now, is making this like an educational type thing where we can make it into like franchise it pretty much, where we're like, okay, you guys can, because we've already had people that have asked us like, hey, let's do a can we do a Grails and Glory in Knoxville? I have a shop. I know a gym that we could do. I would have a good amount of people. Let's do it. And we're like, okay, that's cool. So what our idea is to like franchise it to different people. You know, you have your Grails and Glory of Knoxville, your Grails and Glory of Antioch, your Grails and Glory of Madison, or you have your Grails of Glory of in Ohio, whatever it might be. And then, you know, I think we were talking about like 6 times a year, bring it all back to Nashville. And so 6 times a year we rent out a big convention space like the fairgrounds or whatever. And it's just every Grails and Glory vendor come to Nashville, and it's like a big family reunion party type thing.
It's really cool.
And tying that in also with like an education type thing where it's like, hey, you want to learn how to vend Pokemon? Okay, cool. Let's start, you know, here's your PDF, or here are videos that we've made for you guys of how to list up on TCG Player, etc. And that's something that we're doing, like seller's guide and stuff like that too. So I think that that's a great place and a great track, and something that you can pour back into the community by doing.
What I really want to do, the franchise model is intriguing, because I was one of the first person that asked me for help to run a show. I do have a guy in Knoxville as well. One of my dealers, he asked if I could, he said it in that way. He's like, can I franchise this in Knoxville? I'm like, I'm not serious. I'm not a real business. You wouldn't franchise it, but I'm glad to help you start a show. But he wants to use the name Upper Cumberland Cards just because it has some, you know, I'm established at this point. So we might be doing a show in Knoxville as well, even though a new show just popped up on the first Saturday of every month in Knoxville. So we'll have to see how that goes. But what I was going to say is, what was I going to say? It's going to come back to me. Lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
But yeah, the franchise model is a really good idea. I think that if you make the model and you prove the system. Oh yeah, what I was going to say is, my personal desire that I've not been able to commit to yet is to do videos. I'm a data nerd. Like, to be successful with cards, you need to understand price volatility, ups and downs, what's hot, what's not. And I use an app called Market Movers from Sports Card Investor. It aggregates eBay and most of the marketplaces. It's incredibly powerful. And I want to do like a weekly video per sport, showing the rise and runs of how many cards have sold, what the value dips are, like doing the analytics part of cards if you really want to get nerdy about what should I sell or what should I buy to be at a show. So education through videos is one thing that I definitely want to be doing. So I would recommend that you do that for Pokemon for sure, because people need to learn how to vend well if they're to stick around. So that video education is everything these days with YouTube and Reels and stuff. So I'm a big fan of that idea. And then franchising it into cities, that's a really cool goal.
Yeah, that's the goal for us. And I think we're going to do it we'll do it within 2 years. I would love to do it in a year and a half or one, so after high school. But yeah, that's awesome.
Are you planning to get a job in life, or are you just going to do cards?
I think I'm running this into a business. Like, that's honestly what I'm trying to do. Because I still have a year. So I'm trying to get, I work 2 jobs currently. I have a school job, since I go to a private school. It helps me kind of like pay tuition. And then I have an actual like not 9 to 5, but, you know, like a traditional job. Working at a grocery store at Publix, if you know Publix. Grocery stores. I work there, and I'm a very hard worker, so they've pretty much told me, sorry, my alarm went on for 7 o'clock. I don't know why it went off. But they've pretty much like noticed like how much of a hard worker I am, and they've talked to me like, hey Rocco, like after high school, like we want you to stay with us, and like we'll train you up to be a manager and stuff like that.
Cool.
So I'm thinking about doing that, at least until like this takes off, because like I said, I want to do this to a card shop, and then once that takes off, like reinvest that into different businesses and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I'm open to anything. I also I love like stock markets and stuff like that, and like real estate, and enjoying like that type of stuff. And construction. I might get a trade. I'm thinking about it to also maybe start my own a business and trades. But
Cool.
yeah, that's kind of still up in the air. I'm taking it one step at a time. I know for
Yeah.
sure because I graduate high school early, or not early, but I graduate at 17 because of where my birthday's placed and how I did in classes and stuff like that. So I'm gonna probably take a year and just do cards and see where that takes
Sweet.
me and how much I can grow there. So
Yeah, do it while you can.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that was, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. But yeah. Anyway, what do you what do you do as well? Like, what's kind of your stuff that you do instead of cards?
I'm a full-time marketer. I do marketing strategy, and then I'm a realtor. So I sell real estate whenever it comes. I built a website, like a tourism site for people moving to Tennessee. So I get leads from my website that I built as a marketer. So it's marketing
Cool.
full
That's
time.
awesome.
I got a kid. We homeschool. I got a homestead. We got 47 chickens. Active in church. Just little this, little that, and this is a hobby that just kind of blew up, and it's not a full time living, but it could be. It's not where I'm at in life right now. So that's why I asked you, being as young as you are, and with all the options in the world at this point, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Which I got a business degree, and I graduated in '04 from college, which you weren't even alive. And but I didn't really understand how to run a business until I was down the road a bit. And just in 2013, I became a marketer. Quit my job in 2014. Went full self-employed. Just if I didn't have a family and a job and things, I could quit my job and go into cards if I wanted to, but it would just be too volatile I'd have to be away on nights and weekends and stuff like that. So my family just changed my priorities. So it's
No, that's great.
if I were 17 thinking about what I would do, it would probably, if I had the opportunity to franchise a card show model, and I would definitely have done it at your age. So I would encourage you to press into that. And I, just for what it's worth, I'm very experienced in business and finances and business strategy marketing. So from the business side of the world, if you guys need help to make it a legit thing, just I'm all about trying to help you to make it sustainable.
Of course, I love that. I appreciate that. And thank you for that. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun for me, and that's just what I enjoy. I enjoy doing this, like, genuinely. It's opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like destroyed my perception of money, but like it's made me realize that, like, it's not that difficult, to like make a good amount of money, like doing like something that you love. And
You don't have to apologize for that.
yeah, it's just it's that's what it's taught me. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I could ever see myself like getting like just a sit down job when I'm doing like all this. And I'm like, there's so much money to be made here, but at the same time, it's so much fun and I enjoy doing it. And the relationships that I've made are just like worth so much for it. But that's kind of that's my 2 cents on it. I don't know.
I'm with you, man.
But
I'm with you. And the more if you listen to Gary Vee more, do you listen to him a lot, or did you just find out about him?
I do.
He wrote the book on how to follow your passion and make money doing it. So just yeah,
there's stuff I agree with like that. And definitely like sitting down in like your 20s or early teen or like late teens, early 20s, like just doing what you love and making money doing it. That's definitely something that I've found. And I mean, I found it and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And it's fun. It's
Good.
really fun. And doing shows also has helped me like catapult into this a lot more. Like I wouldn't have been able to buy certain things if I didn't have shows to help. So it's definitely helped speed along this process, and it's definitely a nugget that I found that I'm definitely going to keep on picking at it, so it keeps on reaping gold. But yeah, that's kind of my stuff on that. I don't know. I don't want to
excited to
hold you.
watch it.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm excited to watch you guys grow too. I think you guys are going to do great, and all that type of stuff. I don't want to hold you too long though, so I was just going to ask if you have anything else that you'd like to say, any other pieces of advice before, or like what would be your piece of advice for people wanting to maybe start doing their own shows or stuff or things that you've learned in the time that you've been doing it.
I would say just keep learning from every event. Every event, you're gonna do good things and bad things, and people are gonna like you, and people are not gonna like you. With anything in life, just take one step at a time. I decided that long ago. And this will be our 14th show in June. Every show, I tell the Lord, if I'm not supposed to be doing this, just shut it down. Every show, if it seems like it shouldn't continue, then if people don't like it, if people don't like me, if people don't like anything, it'll be very clear that it needs to be put away. So I don't get married to the idea that this is what I do, it's what I need to do, this is what I'm going to keep doing. So if you keep that perspective of like, be better every show, but if it goes south and it's clear that you don't try to force it. But for us, it just happened organically. It kept growing and growing and growing. The sentiment was always there with the growth. The people always loved it. I have maybe 2 or 3 people that I know don't like me. I understand why, and I'm fine with it. And there's probably more that just don't say anything. But there'll be opposition to everything you do. But largely, people love what we do, and it's become a community to the point where they want me to keep doing it. So as long as that's true about anything, then just know that it's a long-term play, like Gary Vee will talk about. Like, you're so young, just keep every day one step better. That's my mantra in life. And it's every show to show, just what can we do a little bit better, and take advice from people. Be open to criticism, be open to suggestions, be open to praise. Don't let it get you all big headed, or you think you're hot stuff. We got a cool show, but we're not the coolest thing in the world. And we could always be better. So I'm going to borrow ideas from you. There's a new show popping up in Knoxville on this first weekend. So I was a little frustrated that the guy scheduled the first week of every month like we do.
Yeah.
Could be a conflict, could not. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't really care, but I'm borrowing ideas from him. Some of the stuff on his flyers is good. Just continually learn from people and take ideas from other avenues, from other industries, from other shows, and just incorporate them in your show so that every show is a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's great, and thank you for that. And that's definitely a good life lesson in general, is keep on being better every day. And that's so true. And what you said about like praying about shows, like that was my very first show that I ran. I had I'm like very involved in church, and my church does stuff on Saturday. So there was like conflicts with shows and stuff like that. The prayer that I prayed, I was like, hey, if I'm meant to do this, and if I'm bringing like Jesus, or if I'm bringing like if I'm bringing a positive mindset or a positive attitude to this that is impacting many people in a positive way, and you want me to do this, like, just bless it. And if you don't want to do it, then I know I'm not going to do it. And then every show has just been blessing upon blessing upon blessing. So I'm like, all right, I guess this is what I'm doing. Like, I guess this is what is happening. And I've been extremely blessed to do it. And I know that I don't lose sleep over it. I don't lose sleep if this is what I'm supposed to do or not. But I know that for right now, at least, this is what I'm doing. And that's what I do. So I agree with that a lot.
That's awesome. I wish I knew that when I was your age. I did not. That was a learned skill along the way, but it's a huge life lesson.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love it.
That's true. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Where can people find you and the show?
On Facebook, Upper Cumberland Cards is the page. We're on Instagram as well. All my contact info is on the flyers on those. I'm Joe Kalis. UpperCumberlandCards.com as well as the website. It'll get you to the current Facebook event, the current flyer, UpperCumberlandCards.com has all the info for the current show. We're the first Saturday of every month. We are skipping July. It's May 2025 right now. We're doing June and then skipping July because it falls on the 4th of July weekend, and I'm not trying to contend with that. And I think the Nashville National Show is that weekend as well. So I try not to compete with. Maybe I made that up. It is the 4th of July weekend. Okay. So anyway, skipping July, but the first Saturday of every month, ongoing. So holler at me if you need a table, if you want to know anything about cards, if you want to know anything about Pokemon, I'll lead you to Rocco, and we'll take over this crazy little world together.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, Joe.
Thank you, brother.
I thought this was great. A little bit different, but I thought this was awesome and this was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely hit you up if we need it. And thank you guys, everyone who watched this or who will watch this. This will be coming out in 2 weeks because I did back-to-back podcasts. So I had a podcast last night, and then I have podcast tonight. So this will be in 2 weeks.
Cool. Love it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This will be this will come out the week before the June show, I believe.
Okay. Awesome.
This week, next week. Yeah, this will be the week before the June show. So it's going to be great. I'll probably have a vendor POV going on. So I'll be having my little camera and having my deals and trades and all that stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you, Joe, for coming on. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
26th episode, everyone. So I hope to see you guys next week and just continue to do well. And go to Joe's show next week. All right. Bye.
See ya.